The first thing I noticed when I got to Fuchsia City was a Lapras. Shirahoshi had never seen another one of her kind before, so we went over for a closer look. I then realized that we were in a sort of zoo area and noticed a Kangashkan who was a lot more docile than Giovanni's. And next to that was an odd snail Pokemon which had apparently been resurrected from a fossil. Maybe the fossil the scientists took back in Mount Moon. There was also an Electrode which kind of reminded me of Kaminari, and next to that was a Chansey. The board said that catching one was up to chance, and I thought maybe I would try and get one in the Safari Zone. There was also a very dopey looking Slowpoke, and honestly, I wanted one of those too. I found out there was a competition going on to get to the furthest point in the Safari Zone to win a prize, and the rangers created a very interesting mental image of Warden Slowpoke, so I decided to go and meet him for myself. I found his house easily enough and, well, he definitely had a speech problem. However, I did manage to understand that he lost something in the Safari Zone and needed help finding it, so I agreed to help find the Feef, as he put it. I had no idea what it was, but I figured it wouldn't be that hard to find something out of place in there. When I entered the Safari Zone, I used a repel to keep wild Pokemon away from me while I went searching for the Feef. I found a lot of things on the ground, but I wasn't sure if any of them were what the Warden was looking for. When I got to Area 3 of the Safari Zone, I saw something shiny on the ground and thought this might be what the Warden was looking for, but I couldn't get to it from the route I took to get to Area 3, and I ran out of time before I could make my way to it. I headed back into the Safari Zone and made my way to the mysterious shiny object, which turned out to be a set of golden dentures. Feef. My teeth. Kinda gross, but anyways, I picked up the teeth and realized that it happened to be at the furthest point of the Safari Zone. So I went into the secret house and actually won the prize, the HM for the Move Surf. Since I still had some time left in the Safari Zone, I decided to go looking for wild Pokemon to catch, and came across a Rhyhorn. He seemed kind of curious about me and was staring at me, and after throwing 7 Safari Balls, he ran away. And then I ran out of time in the Safari Zone, and that was it. I took the teeth to Warden Slowpoke, and he was very grateful to have them back. As curious as I was, I thought it better not to ask how we ended up losing them in the middle of the Safari Zone. He gave me the HM for the move Strength as a thank you gift, and then it was time for me to take on the gym. The gym had a maze of invisible walls and a lot of psychic Pokemon. Shota body slammed his way through 3 trainers with a mix of Drowsy, Kadabra, and Hypno before we finally encountered a trainer with a poison-type Pokemon, an Arbok, who actually survived a psychic. A subsequent body slam knocked it out though, and then came out a Sand Slash. At this point I was starting to think that I maybe wandered into the wrong place. How does a so-called poison gym have less poison Pokemon than the grass gym, and more psychic Pokemon than the psychic gym? After bumping my way around through the invisible walls, I finally reached the gym leader, Ninja Master Koga, who spoke in a very weird dialect, but seemed to reveal that his battling technique was poisoning or putting Pokemon to sleep, neither of which would be helpful against Shota. Koga's first Pokemon was a Koffing, who Shota took out in a single Psychic. Next was a Muk, who instantly went for Acid Armor. Psychic didn't do as much, and Shota got hit by a Sludge, and after a second Psychic, Muk used Minimize. Despite that, Shota was able to hit it with another Psychic, which finished it off. Third was another Koffing, who went down to a single Psychic, and then came Koga's final Pokemon, a Weezing, who set up a smoke screen right away, giving me flashbacks to Basby. Shota managed to keep his eye on the Weezing and hit it with a Psychic, then got hit by a Sludge and unfortunately missed a second Psychic. He then took another Sludge which hit much harder than the first one, and then thankfully landed a final Psychic to finish off the Weezing, thereby winning us the Soul Badge. Before leaving the gym, Koga also gave me the TM for the move Toxic, which is apparently a 400-year-old technique. I debated teaching it to Victor, but I wasn't totally sure about it at the time. Since there was a beach right near the gym, I decided to take Shirahoshi out on the water. She was really enjoying being free to explore the world instead of being locked away in a tiny room, and I let her choose where to go. We ended up at Seafoam Island, and I found a cave there. Inside the cave was cold. really cold. I wanted to leave as soon as we walked in, but then I noticed a slowpoke. And since I never got a Chansey from the Safari Zone, I figured I might as well get one of the other Pokemon I saw at the zoo that I wanted. And so I caught the poor clueless looking creature and I named him Wonderwise. On the way back to Fuchsia, we encountered a very small and underleveled Tentacool. I felt bad to just leave it floating around in such dangerous waters, so I caught her and named her Soifon. After letting Shirahoshi play with the Pokemon of some of the other trainers in the water, I decided to do something I hadn't thought of doing throughout my journey. I left Fuchsia City and went to Route 15, past the fisherman on Route 12, where a very nice fisherman who really liked Magikarp gave me a fishing rod, annoyed another Snorlax to consciousness to get onto Route 11, then went through Diglett's cave to get to Viridian City, and finally returned home to Pallet Town for a well-deserved rest.